I think here we go. So this session we're having together today, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself, Dr. Jeni, is really meant to bring light for women entrepreneurs who some days wonder, how can I survive this in my relationship at home and this in my business as I'm building, reaching out to prospects, leads, and how do you do it? So I wanted to bring you on, Dr. Jeni, because two things. Number one, you have an amazing opportunity that is starting this month on the Valentine's month. And then number two, when I coach women entrepreneurs around visibility, marketing, and sales, we often go back to what's going on at home, what's going on in relationships, in their personal life, and how much it has an impact on how they show up for their business. So I have 3 questions I want to ask you. And if you're watching this and you have your own questions, you can literally put them in the comments. But first, who are you, Dr. Jeni of PowerfulLove?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation because it's so important. My name is Dr. Jeni. I call myself a relationship revolutionary because I recognize that too many of us are struggling in our relationships and haven't had any of the education or support we need to have the kind of relationships we dream of. And so I'm here to lead a revolution that changes that for everybody. So in Powerful Love, I'm a relationship mentor, speaker, educator, author, and I work with a lot of high achieving, high capacity women and women entrepreneurs who get to that point in their relationship where they don't want to leave, but they know they can't keep going if something doesn't change.
I love that. I love how you explain it so simply. So if you're someone who is thinking every day to leave, but you don't want to leave and you're growing a business, stay here. Dr. Jeni is here for us. So my first question is really, because you work with people in the most intimate ways, right? So what do you see most often showing up in personal relationship that later kind of spills into the business? And how does that show up?
Oh my gosh, yes. So I think for women and women entrepreneurs in particular, what I see the most is this over functioning, this carrying too much, all the things, which is very much how we are socialized as women to do. We tend to be the ones who carry, more of the childcare work or the household work or the emotional labor of attending to the feelings and needs of our family, but we also carry a lot of the relational labor. So women tend to be the ones who bring up the problems, who ask for things to get better, who name like the spaces, the dissonance between what we desire to be experiencing and what we're experiencing. And so we're like pulling or dragging our husbands, our spouses along to try to fulfill ourselves while carrying all this other stuff. Often we're not feeling met. And then as entrepreneurs, we're trying to nurture our clients, lead our teams, create this legacy in the world that requires courage and visibility and leadership and breaking a lot of rules for women in those ways. Because why aren't we just at home, being a good woman and a good wife and a good mom? So we're like that. It's so much that it drains us. And what happens in addition to the drain of just carrying it all is that when we try to ask for something different from our spouses, when we try to initiate change in our partnership, it feels like we're often spinning our wheels, or like I like to say, banging our head against the wall, because despite all of our effort and energy that we're putting in to try to be met, to try to balance, to try to improve what we're experiencing, it doesn't change. We're met with defensiveness or resistance or conflict, or partners who try to change, but it doesn't actually stick. And that can be really disheartening and disempowering and eventually defeating, because we get stuck what do I even do? And so that's the piece that I see again and again. And when you're in that at home, as you're alluding to, Angelique, about in these conversations about visibility, when that's happening personally, we don't have the capacity to show up in our authenticity or our power. Our nervous systems want us to hide and shrink until we're safe again, not be out there leading the world and leading our vision. So it's really difficult, especially as women leaders, to stay in that frequency we want to put into the world when our hearts are breaking, or we're feeling unfulfilled, or we're drained because of everything that's going on in our personal lives.
You bring me to a place where you tell me how that resonates with you. But I know that was my experience when you start, a business and then you grow the business. So for me, it's been like 10, 12 years. Like, I didn't know that when I started, but it's actually the best school of personal development you can ever do is to become an entrepreneur. So we got to learn so much about ourselves as we're building the business and being visible and selling and promoting, that it's like we are transforming our identity at a pace that is, let's be frank, hard to follow for someone who is not into the same treadmills of transformation. Right. And then my tendency, I remember with my partner, was to kind of have those conversations, like involve him in my decision as a business owner who is in that thing, and expecting my partner to have the same kind of level of nervous system, risk taking and all the things.
Yeah.
And getting mad that he was not on board.
Yep.
And then wanting to change. Don't you understand? So I see that pattern in me. Does that speak to you?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. That is something I also see and hear about a lot. And it's interesting. Sometimes I forget about that because I'm in business with my partner. And so we're doing a lot of this growing together, but the truth is not every woman is. And I'm not going to go deep into the patriarchy conversation, though I could. But like in this division of masculine and feminine that shows up in heterosexual relationships and can even show up in queer non-binary relationships, but part of that division, the masculine energy already kind of hasn't grown in the same kind of relational ways that the feminine does. And so now we're developing outside of the scripts of what it means to be, to be in this dance with our partners, and we're becoming more powerful. We're realizing who we are and what's possible, and our expectations and our desires and our awareness of the world and of what, of how we can expand and grow spiritually, personally, professionally. And it's a fast pace as an entrepreneur. And so you've already kind of got this kind of relational dissonance, and then we're growing faster and bigger, and that can be a really big gap. And the question is, like, how do we invite our partner in? How do we bring them up in this growth without like just growing too far apart and needing to walk away? Which is why I talk about, learning how to stay and change everything in your relationship, because otherwise we're either in conflict and kind of stuck with that gap that eventually, we'll either continue to grow or we learn how to like bridge it. And I want to help women know how to bridge it without spinning their wheels so much or being drained of energy. I And there was one other thing that came up for me while you were talking. Give me just a moment. Nope, it'll either come back or it won't.
It will.
But
Yeah. So
that's really real, that growth and that shifting that here's what I wanted to say on how freaking menopause, perimenopause is real, my friends. I mean, we're talking to women. Let's have this real conversation. Because a lot of us and maybe some of the audience watching isn't there yet. And there's this intersection as we grow and develop ourselves personally, where also our hormone changes really kind of take away how I've heard it described as like hormone incentivized tolerance for less than what we really desire or deserve, right?
What is that?
It's like when we're in our reproductive years and we've got lots of estrogen in our body, our biology gives us a reason to want to prioritize connection and harmony over personal well-being.
Ooh, okay. That's
so when the
cool.
estrogen drops, for a lot of women, so does the tolerance. All of a sudden, we're waking up to, hey, wait a second, like, no, I'm doing too much, or no, that's not fair, or hey, I've supported your career for like our entire life, and now I want to go do my thing and build this business, and you're not supporting me. I deserve support. And so there's this energetic shift that I think comes with the growth that entrepreneurship brings, that just happens developmentally. And this is where it's in this chapter, life society often calls it the midlife crisis, but a lot of it is actually I'm coming to learn about a developmental, biological shift and a spiritual threshold where we as women start, we shift into needing to value ourselves more and be in our sovereignty and power, as opposed to prioritizing the harmony of our relationship. And that's a call-in. It's like, no, I got really big things to do in this world, and I matter, and I can't do everything, and I need you to step up and grow with me. But again, then we're at that place where there's this new need for our relationship, but we don't know how to execute on that need in a way that doesn't drain us or create conflict or more distance. And which is why divorce is actually really common around, mid 40s. And 90% of divorces are, I believe it's 90 or 95%, initiated by women, which is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, I guess if you're listening to Dr. Jeni and you feel identified with any of this, you are normal, that you're not crazy,
Oh, yeah.
and there is nothing wrong. And let's stop calling this crisis, I think. It is a season of life.
Yes.
And I love that what you said about you don't take care of the heart anymore. You're going to be like going rogue kind of your own way.
Yeah. We get a little unruly.
I like that. And what if it's normal and that's part of, also, so in my work in the visibility world with women entrepreneurs, we learn how to feel our feelings without restricting them, and as a way of being fully expressed. And I think that is part of listening and hearing exactly of what is simmering here. And then when energetically we're available to dedicate our energy to that thing that maybe nobody heard about before. And so it's like, what is she doing? Right. Then it makes sense that you need to recalibrate everything, the relationship and everything else. Right. 100%. And I feel for me like 52, I think. Yeah, 52. I know way better what I want and what I don't want. And that's part of the same thing. I think the same, I choose my path now that everybody's safe here. I'm going to go and do my thing. But I want to bring everybody with me without, pushing them to believe in what I believe. It's not about that, right?
Absolutely.
So I know that when I have those conversations with my clients, there is a lot of censorship in their voice.
Mm-hmm.
How can I speak my voice? And the fear of, and those are going back to trauma stuff, if I speak up, I might lose the relationship.
Uh-huh.
And then if I lose the relationship, is my business enough to serve? Like, I don't know. And what if everything goes wrong?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you have to say about this, Dr. Jeni?
I say that it is incredibly normal. And I actually talk about this a lot, about the reasons that we don't speak up and share our voice. And a lot of it is because of our socialization as women, that we aren't supposed to, and that if we do, and when we do, it can result in, like defensiveness or conflict, which makes things worse. It can result in withdrawal or shutdown, which makes things worse, or it can result in our partners collapsing into shame, or kind of falling apart. And then we have to do the emotional labor to kind of put them back together. And so, yeah, you're risking more energy output. You're risking the relationship not working if you draw a line in the sand and stand up for yourself. And we don't know, like, again, because relationships are not prioritized as a skill set to learn, because we don't have a lot of models of how to do this really well and really skillfully, we're left to just figure it out on our own. And the way that we attempt to do it doesn't work. And so it creates those negative outcomes that we fear happening. So it's so important to use our voice, right? Like, we know we need to, but we're scared to. And what bridges the gap is learning how to use our voice and feel our feelings, and then express our feelings in a way that is a lot more likely to get us the kind of results or responses from our partners that we desire to have. And that's a skill that can be learned and can be practiced, as is the skill of, like, working through what it is that we want to say exactly, and why, and what our ask is, and what we want to do, how we're going to respond if our needs aren't getting met. And what does that mean? And, like, being in our power around that. And that's a really different position to be in our relationship, from a place of power and sovereignty, as opposed to a place of disempowerment and fear, which is hard to navigate from.
What is one relationship pattern that, when you are someone building your business and really focusing your mental and emotional bandwidth on that, let's say you have a launch, and then so you're like, your nervous system, like, you have to is hijacked, and then those moments in relationships happens in those moments, right? Because we are energy beings, and we feel each other without saying a word.
Yeah.
So what is a relationship pattern that you see on repeat that quietly drains entrepreneurs the most, and what is a healthier way of dealing with it?
I mean, so in the example that you gave, Angelique, I think the pattern I see the most is well, it goes two ways. One, women, because we're strong, high capacity women, we just try to suck it up and do all of the things anyway, without naming that we need extra support because we're in the middle of a launch, and we can't be making dinner tonight, or we need to be able to work late and our spouses to take care of all the other things, or we need just a little bit more gentleness and attention to feed our energy system, or some grace, right? We don't ask for what we need and share where we're at, because we're too afraid of not getting it, or what would happen if we did ask for it. And there's the belief that we should be able to just do all the things. And so when that happens, we drain ourselves, we burn out very quickly. Our launches are not successful because energetically we're not there with it, or we are more likely to snap at our kids or get in a fight with our spouse because our nervous system is so overstimulated and our window of tolerance is so small at that point, because we're not doing or allowing ourselves to receive what we need to stay in greater capacity. The other pattern that I see is almost an more conflict directed response, where there's the pattern of like, well, I need to do this, and so now you've got to do this, and I need this from you. And so it's a more direct way of speaking our needs in our voice, but in a way that creates disconnection and reinforces not getting those needs met, because now we're in conflict, or now our partner feels resentful. And then that drains energy differently. So that's a big thing. And I love that you speak with your clients about feeling their feelings and using their voice, because that's the piece, right? It's like, how do we increase the awareness of where we're at and what we need and who we are, and then speak to that, but do so in a way that actually gets us what we desire.
Thank you for answering this. And Dr. Jeni and Calvin, your partner, you work together, and you are the most iconic, model of how to go from almost dysfunction in the relationship to how you built a business with it. And
Yes,
you share so much about it together.
Yeah.
With us. So I would love for you, if you don't mind, like in everything we talked about, what is it that you find it the most powerful that we have our disposal, so that every business owner watching this can play with it today, and with lots of grace and compassion, because it takes the first step, right?
That's a great question. And so I'm going to share the thing that really turned everything around for me and Cal. And it was this shift from like blame, pointing my fingers at him, wanting him to change, to what we now call in our work empowered accountability. And that's not about doing everything yourself or carrying all of the weight or responsibility, because I'm all about like women don't need to be doing more of that anyway. But what it is about is like looking at where you have the power to influence what's going on. I like to use the dance, like a dance metaphor, to talk about this. And so most people have heard the phrase, it takes two to tango. And we could all agree on that. And while that may be true, it takes two to tango, it only takes one to learn the steps and lead the dance. And so the shift was like me choosing to become the one and stop trying to get him to change, and instead looking at how I can lead our dance differently. Another mentor of mine talked about it like shifting your position on a seesaw, or what I used to call a teeter-totter, right? Like you're connected to your partner, and you can't, like, forcing them to do something is a lot harder than just kind of changing where your weight is and recognizing that when you do that, the balance shifts. So it's all about looking at how and where we can influence our partnership, not control it, but influence it through love, through conscious choice, through relational leadership, and become the one that we need, that our souls and our hearts need to allow to co-create what it is we're trying to experience, trying to have in all areas of our life. And that's the big shift. Like, if you can get that, if you can shift into relational leadership, if you can shift into away from blame and into your own power to influence and get conscious about it rather than being on autopilot, you've got the keys to the kingdom, really.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. How would you transfer that to, because I know you, Cal, and you are the business owners, you work together, but
Mhm.
to a woman entrepreneur who has her business, how does that work? Like, when you are kind of in different worlds, how do you meet that?
Well, we think about like, what is it that you desire to be experiencing differently, right? That's the first step, is having awareness of that. And then we need to look at what your choices are. What's the next step in this dance that I could take that is more likely to move me in the direction of what I actually desire to create? So if there's a gap between you and your spouse, then you're looking at like, what's your move? Where can you shift how you're showing up that is more likely to invite him to meet you in that gap, to bridge the gap with you? It might look like having a really hard conversation about like, I'm worried that I'm growing apart from you, and you're not, like there's this gap that I'm feeling between us, and it scares me, and I want to work together to bridge the gap. It could look like drawing a line in the sand, which is, something that actually happened with me and Calvin recently, because we're always leveling up. Where it was, I'm tired of defensiveness when I'm trying to give you feedback about what I don't like in our relationship. Like his immediate response in the pattern was defensiveness, which is very common. And I'm like, we've talked about it all for long years, and it hadn't really changed. And finally I was like, not enough. I'm not, this is me in perimenopause too. I was like, oh, I'm not going to do this anymore. This needs to stop. And because if it doesn't, I'm not going to engage with you. Like, this is my boundary. Like, you got to figure this shit out, man. And part of it, that is like, this is your work, but part of it is also, now how do I support him in being successful in that? Like, can I collaborate with my partner in his success? So it's not just individual empowerment at the cost of the relationship. That's a really important difference. There's an individual empowerment, and then there's relational empowerment. And I'm about balancing both. So I think, and I could go into a dozen other examples or techniques, Angelique. But what it comes down to is the how. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. It's not that you speak up to your partner, or that you bring it up, or that you ask for change, or it's how you do it. And that's the leadership part. That's the relational leadership. So you identify what it is that you want to be different, that you need to have changed. And then you look at all of the options of like how you might do that. And we get conscious and we get clear about which move is most likely to take you the next step toward what it is that you desire to create. And it probably is not going to happen overnight. Your partner's not going to do all of the growth in a night that you've been working on for the past 10 years. But how do we start that momentum?
Yeah.
And feel like confident that it's happening, that our needs are going to get met, whatever they may be. And a lot of the times the approach that people are taking doesn't work well. And so if the approach you've been taking isn't working, then let's look at a different approach. And that's where the work that I do comes in. That's so much of the work that I do is helping women to recognize where their power and influence is, what that can look like, and how that can look. Because again, most of us had never had that kind of relational engagement modeled to us, or let alone taught, or practiced. And that's what really changes the game, is to know how to do that, how to lead that gap, whatever that gap may be. Because it might be in business, it might be in sex, it might be in emotional attunement, or just like our closeness and openness with one another, communication, like whatever it is, the way that we do it, the way we lead ourselves, is how to get from one place to the other. Does that answer your question?
Oh yeah, and I love the examples you gave. Thank you so much for this. And I don't want to take too much of your time. I think you shared so much, and you have an experience that you're offering this month. If someone wants to experience what it is to get some support in that area of your life, it's
Yes.
called, what's the name of the experience?
It's called Be the One.
Be the One. Be the
Be the
One.
one. It's which again is not about doing all the things. Like I said, this is like the core shift. And so Be the One is a 6-week relational leadership initiation. It's about becoming the woman who knows how to lead differently so that your relationship can either rise to meet you or reveal what's true and put you in a place of power and love from which to take the next step, right? And I call it an initiation because, you know, this isn't a long-term program. It's a turning point. It's a reorientation within your identity and within your relationship, that once you see like how this relational leadership works and who you can be within it and how that can really finally create change, you can't unsee it. And then everything can start to move differently for you and your partnership.
Love it. So the best way to learn more about this, and when do you start? February
9th is
9th.
the current planned start date, though. It's an open enrollment program. The folks who start on February 9th get some extra special bonuses for being in the first cohort. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll tag you on LinkedIn. I'll tag you in Facebook, and then if you find on YouTube, I'll put your information in the description as well, and in the comments. And I invite you, Jeni, to go to the comments and participate so that we can find you in the comments as well.
Yes, I will do that.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on that we didn't touch on?
You know, the one thing I will say last about the Be the One program is that partners are welcome to participate, but they're not required, right? This is not a program about fixing your partner. It's not even really a program about fixing your relationship. This is a program that's for you to move into your own relational leadership and empowerment so that you can be the change that you're desiring without having to wait for your partner to be ready, without having to wait for them to do the work with you. And no, it's not fair for us as women, especially, to be leading this, to be doing more of the labor. And yet, again, I just want to name that you're probably already putting in a lot of energy. And I'm all about helping the energy that you are willing to put into your relationship be more effective and get you the results that you want, so that you don't have to put in so much energy in the long run. And what I have found time and time again is that when one person chooses to start leading their relationship differently, the other person will follow. And you'll find you won't be carrying as much or leading by yourself for very long, because that's not sustainable and that's not what this is about. So know that even if your partner's not interested or doesn't think there's even a problem or doesn't get why you would want to do this, they don't need to. And you can still change everything by, in moving through this initiation. And I built it for you. And again, if they're there, then it's about them and what they're learning too. But we don't need them. We prefer them. We just don't need them to be able to claim our happiness and the love and the partnerships that we really desire and deserve.
Is Carl part of the training, of the program too, or do you do it together as well when you do programs? How does that work?
No, this one I'm leading. He may come in as like a guest support person or teach, or share particular modules. And because this is a new program, so this actually Be the One was our flagship program that we would take folks through over the course of 6 months. And now, because I know we want change a lot faster than that, I'm packaging this and bringing women through it in a 6-week period. So it's more intensive, and it's taught live, which we didn't do this program live, except for like the one-on-one pieces in our 6-month program. So we've seen the transformations that can happen. And now I'm playing with like, how can I support women? And again, and where I was going is because this is a new way of playing with transformation that I know works. There's a lot of open space for, if we see the need for Cal, or if Cal can come in and support this container more, then we're going to bring that in. So he is available and not currently part of the plan unless we're working one-on-one with a couple. That's always, he and I are working together as a couple with couples in our high touch couple to couple work.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And if you don't know Jeni, Dr. Jeni and Cal yet, I invite you to check their Facebook, Instagram, and listen to their live videos. I always love watching you when I get a chance. I just want to say, you guys are so cute. Okay, bye-bye.